We can start, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Good evening, students. This is Dr. Pranamita. I'd like to introduce today's resource person, Ms. Janani. She is working as an associate software engineer at Mphasis. She is your 20 to 26 batch alumni, and at present, in today's session, she is going to handle the topic Spring Boot and Backend Engineering. Welcome, Janani, to this session. You can start now.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Janani, you can share your screenshot.
Is my screen visible, ma'am? Is my screen visible, ma'am?
Yes, it's visible.
Yeah, visible, ma.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. So, good evening, all. I'm Janani, your immediate senior. So, I got placed in Emphasis. So, I would like to start this session by sharing my interview experience with the Emphasis. So, the first round was, as usual, the aptitude and reasoning, verbal, and all those things. That round was conducted in our college premises, third floor lab, and the second round was the technical HR. So each company will have different set of process for this round, specifically the technical HR. Some companies they will ask a fully technical questions on their own, and some will fully prefer the questions based on your resume, like what are the domain technology stack that you have included in your resume. So the questions will be based on that. And for emphasis, I got this pattern. So the questions were only based on my resume. So I would say please ensure that you know all the things that you have mentioned in your resume, even it is a single letter or it is a sentence. Like you should be thorough enough about your resume so that whatever the questions they ask from your resume, you can answer them. Because during my interview, the interviewer has raised question even based on my participation. Like we will add some participate certificates like a paper presentation in a symposium, something like that. Even they questioned on that part. So make sure you are fully come up with a prepared resume, a well prepared resume, not rather than a Canva design. So that is the main thing. So let us start today's session. So I would like to talk about the Spring Boot and the backend engineering, which I encountered in my internship period. My resume and my technology stack was fully a cyber security side, whereas when I entered the company for internship, they trained me fully based on the Java full stack. So during that internship period, I was fully working on the back end part of the application. So let us deep dive into this. So we don't know how many members are focusing in Java, but if you are focusing on Java, and I advise you to learn this Spring Boot concepts and the next level of concepts, so which will be helpful for you. So the introduction is nothing like we know today's apps like Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is, like Netflix, Instagram, or whatever. What happens there? We will open a app. It will ask for something like login or sign up. What happens when we log in? We will give our credential through UI, and those credentials will be sent for the backend systems where the authentication and authorization takes place. If your credentials are valid, then you will be allowed to get into the application and use your account. So if the credentials are not correct, then it will throw some error message. This is something a full stack app does. So First, let us differentiate between what the front end and the back end means. So, front end is nothing like what we see through our eyes. So, the colors, the designs, the buttons, the form you fill up, the each and every text box you have in your page, and the animation, stickers, or the color grading, everything comes under the front end part. So, what back end actually does is it it is fully focused on the server side logic, not on the client side logic. So, what the server should do when you give a credentials, login credential, what it should do? So, first it should accept your credentials. It should validate with the database. So let's say your name is something like Rahul or something, and your password is 12345. And let's say you have given your username as capital R remaining and small, and similarly the password 12345. So if you give the credentials correctly, and if it matches the data source in the database, then you will be logged in as usual. So this is a regular process. If if so the credentials are wrong, let's say we have given a small r in place of a capital R, what happens? So this is where the actual backend starts. So your authentication fails and the authorization fails, and your access is denied into your account. So this is what the actual backend. So this is what happens internally. Your server side logic is tested. Your server side logic is tested. Authentication and authorization take place. The security of your account, the database, data sources, and the APIs. So here the API is nothing but it acts as a bridge between your front end and your back end. So you send something through API, and the backend gives you something in through API. So it is like a bridge, middleman bridge between the front and the backend. So the application flow is like this. So data is given in the front end. It is passed via the API to the backend, and the backend will check with the database for the correctness of the data. So if the data is correct, then the response is again sent to the front end. So this is the application flow as we discussed. So everyone will ask why Java. Even in our college, we were continuously insisted on like learn Java. It will be useful for your career. So Java is like it has so many frameworks and it has many built-in libraries. So why still people are relying heavily on Java is it is used in the various domains. So if you are working in a banking, fintech, even in healthcare system, so Java serves as a base. So from there, everything is built upon the Java. So the reason why every domain is using this like Java is the scalability issues can be resolved easily. So for this we can have an example. So let's take an e-commerce website. There will be different service like ordering, product ordering, and a product catalog, everything. So if the ordering service is failed, it doesn't affect the product catalog. Viewers, the customers can still view the product catalog in a e-commerce website. Whereas if so they try to purchase that product, like if so they try to order that product, only the ordering service gets failed, whereas the uh, catalog viewing and like we will add some product services, no? So that functionality still serves it. So that's why Java has maintaining its consistency. So we can easily scale up the issues whenever possible. Like it will, even if thousands and hundreds of users use it at the same time, it provides a good stability. Like it won't crash down for like let's say for 100 users it is stable, and for 150 the performance is average, and for 200 if it is failing, no, it's not, like it's not compatible. So for which we need a good stability, a consistency we need, so for which the Java will be useful. And the JVM performance is actually helpful for your application, and it also provides a good security, and it also has a huge ecosystem. So that's why most companies or even most entrepreneurs, whatever they want, they are relying mainly on Java. So my experience with this Java is during my internship period, as I said, my role is a Java full stack developer, and in the internship, I was given a role as a Spring Boot and backend engineer for one particular application. And the domain I worked is the healthcare domain, where the things we learned during our college phases are normal CRUD operations. Like we will post something, we'll get something, we will update something, and we will delete something. The same comes there also. So nothing is different. But the one thing that comes based on the domain you have put it is, like I was placed in a healthcare domain. So what I encountered there, a new thing is, like the backend code which I write must compatible with the official website of the FHIR. So here the FHIR, for your information, so the FHIR is an official website for US based healthcare. So they will follow a set of standard JSON files. Okay, it is like, let's say we are having a 4 hospitals. So if a patient is shifting from hospital A to hospital B and then from B to C, now this C hospital must need all medical records of that particular patient in order to give him a treatment. So what they will do is they will ask the hospital A and hospital B for the particular patient's uh, medical history. So let's consider now the hospital B is giving the medical data in one format and the hospital A is giving the medical data in another format. So now the hospital C, it has to sit and uh, read each and everything to understand the particular patient's record. So for resolving these issues, the official FHIR has a set of standard, let's say like a policy or a set of standard framework kind of thing. So through which the hospital A and the hospital B, whatever the data they give, they will follow the same structured data so that the hospital C can easily obtain the data and treat the patient. So this is why um, the US follows this standard. It is the official FHIR. So if you want, you can just refer that site and you can just go through some JSON files there. So those are the standard structures which the FHIR will follow. And even there are different levels of entities and the different levels of, and even there is something like the status code and all those. Those are fixed. Like it must accept only IMP for inpatient and AMB for ambulatory, like outpatient. We cannot give outpatient. We cannot give like a admitted person like that. If the person is admitted in the hospital, we must give it as IMP, inpatient. So if the person is just visiting hospital, the particular code should be AMB. That's it. So this is something you can find it, and many more are there. So if you are eager to learn those things, just refer that website. So this is the base why the Java features and why companies are relying heavily on Java. So now let's dive into the Spring Boot concept. So the one thing you should learn after completing the OOPS concept and collections in Java is the next is Spring Boot. So Spring Boot is a framework where which is used to build the production ready backend applications quickly. Like it already has a set of annotations, methods, uh, and all those through which we have to just import them and write the only work we have in the Spring Boot project is everything will be automatically generated when you type the annotation. If you just type at the rate of entity, then that particular entity's import statement will be automatically suggested for you. So what happens with that import statement is a jar file regarding or the built-in method for which the at the rate entity whatever the built-in file methods or files or whatever its functionality will be done automatically when we import those things. So this is a very useful framework which is helps us to quickly develop the backend. So REST it is mainly used for REST API, microservices, enterprise system, and the cloud native applications. So since these days many applications are hosted in cloud rather than separately, many applications are like approaching the cloud vendors for their application deployment or hosting. So for which the Spring framework serves as a useful one. So the next thing is the advantages we get through Spring Boot is auto configuration, the first one. So Spring Boot automatically configures the data. So instead of writing the difference between the Spring Boot application and the traditional Java applications is in traditional Java applications we have to write lines of XML code. So whereas in Spring Boot, those lines of XML code is saved. So instead of that, while creating a Spring Boot project, you can just add your dependency. So the basic dependencies will be available in your IDE itself. So if you are using a Spring Boot SCS, the basic dependencies will be available there. It's so if you need any additional dependency, as I mentioned my internship journey, there I needed the official FHIR. So for which I need a separate dependency which is not a common dependency. So for which I have to search for the MVN repository. You can just search the dependency name you want and you can find the dependency. So you can choose whatever dependency version you want and you can just copy that dependency and paste it in your form.xml. So that is simple. So once you have uh, configured your form.xml, automatically your jar files will be downloaded. So there is no need of writing huge XML files in the Spring Boot application. So the next thing is embedded Tomcat server. So in traditional Java applications, uh, before Spring Boot, no, to run a Java application, we need a separate Tomcat server. Like we should install a Tomcat server also in our machine. So we need to start the Tomcat server on one port and we have to configure the port number, etc., etc. After which we have to run our Java application with the help of the Tomcat server. Now here what happens is we don't need any external Tomcat servers to be installed in our system. Once you have added the dependencies, you get a built-in Tomcat server. So the port numbers and the on the port which the application runs is automatically done. So here I have mentioned one starter dependency. So Spring Boot starter web. So this is the name of the dependency, the highlighted one. So it provides you Spring MVC, the Tomcat server which I mentioned, the Jackson, and the REST support for REST API. So this one particular dependency itself provides you this much of support. So without this dependency, if we offer a traditional Java application, we need to write the huge XML files for each and everything for Jackson support, REST APIs, for Tomcat server, we need an additional Tomcat server and all that. So this is the actual name of the dependency that I have mentioned here. So the next one is the REST API. So as I mentioned, the API serves as the bridge between the front end and the back end. So REST API enables the front end back end communication. So here we have a different HTTP methods for this communication. So if you give a get and if you give a particular path, so whatever path you are giving in the postman, so based on that path or based on your if you have given a path for particular ID, that particular ID's information alone will be fetched. So if you are given for all the information regarding in that database will be given. And the post is to create a data, put is to update the data, and the delete is to delete the data. Apart from these methods, there are few more HTTP methods like patch, truncate, and all those. But these four are the most commonly used methods. Even in corporate, these four are the most commonly used. So you don't have to really worry about the other HTTP methods. So if you know what is get, post, put, delete, then it's fine. You just need to mention the annotation. That's it. At the rate of get mapping, at the rate of post mapping, delete mapping, and put mapping. That's it. So these are the HTTP methods. So the in Spring Boot application, it follows a layered architecture. Up, as of now, I guess you all have come across this controller, service, repository, and model kind of codes which we have in our syllabus in college. So I don't know how many of you have understood what each layer does or no. But as of now, even if we start today to understand these concepts, it is a far better, and it helps to get you placed in a like in as per your wish. Like even if you are like you don't know much DSA, the basic problem solving along with one technology stack will get you a handful of placement, like as per your wish. Even if you think the DSA is a lot complex, I can't code. No, it's not like that. You just need to know a basics of coding, a fundamental concepts, along with a few more conceptual concepts. Like here in Spring Boot, there is not like a huge code. You just need to know what annotation is used for what. Then automatically the imports can be done, and you must know what dependencies are required for my project. So if you just copy paste those dependencies from the official MVN repository, then the jar files will be automatically downloaded. So you don't really have like huge number of codes here, huge lines of code. So this layered architecture is these are the four common layers that I have mentioned here. So the first layer is the controller, next is service, repository, and the model. So the model layer is nothing but your database, which mimics your database. So usually we will write SQL queries to create database tables, and we will write SQL queries to insert our data into the table. So in this model layer, what we do is we will just uh, we will just define our variables, and we will just annotate it with at the rate column. What happens here is our variable name is directly mapped into a database column. That we don't have any other kind of SQL queries in this. So the repository is this repository is used to communicate with the database. So we will extend it with the JPA repository. Sorry, JPA. We will extend it with the JPA. Actually, it is an interface. So the controller is nothing but it contains only the API points, and it handles the HTTP. So the service layer is the actual backbone where you will write all your business logics, whatever your application needs to be do. Okay, let's have an analogy. Uh, Controller is like a waiter in the restaurant. What he does is he'll take orders and he'll deliver the food. That's it. And there is no other work for a waiter. Whereas the chef in the kitchen, he has so many work. That is what exactly the service layer does. The service layer contains all the business logics, all the methods, functions, everything. It has everything uh, that our application needs to do. Whether we need to add a product into the cart or add a dispatch a product, whatever the functions of features we have in our app, all the business logics will be present in the service layer. So for this, we can have two layers for service. and the one we can maintain it as an abstract interface, and the next layer like the service implementation. So if you divide it into like this, whatever you can easily know what are all the methods that are present in the implementation uh, file without actual touching it. You can view it from the interface itself. Like since I said it contains all the business logic, no, it will contain some number of lines. So instead of scrolling through those number of code lines, and you have to search for the method names. So one simple thing is you can have an abstract interface where you can define all your service implementation methods. So whenever you get a doubt or whenever you want to go through it, just open the service interface file, see what are all the methods that you have in your service implementation, and then from there you can just quickly know what are all the methods I have added, what are all the methods I have missed for this. So this is one quick kind of layering technique. So there are other layers apart from these four. Like your postman will throw an error along with the trace tag. So it is a security concern. If we deep dive into it, so it is a security concern. So for handling it, we can have another layer called as global exception handling, where all your errors go through that global exception, and only a string message will be displayed instead of a long string. So that's another layer you can have. And similarly, the other layers can be like a mapping layer. So if you want to map something from your JSON to the official JSON, like the FHIR one. So you can have the mapper layer where all the mapping from your JSON to the actual FHIR can be taken without each and every time we don't have to sit and set like this dot name equal to name. No, we don't have to repeat this one particular line everywhere. Instead of that, if you have a mapper class, every time you want to map something, you can just call that class and you can just have that mapping. So one thing is that, and another thing is for the validation. What if the application needs to be validated for something, and that validation can be done here. So these are something that we can have. These are some layers that we can have. So, but this is the basic layer. So if you are a beginner, you can just go with these layers, build projects based on these layers, pick one specific topic, start by implementing one by one feature, like adding a product to a cart. Then try to get that product from the cart, then update it, then delete it. So after which you can just increase the number of feature your application has. So by enhancing it with every single time, at the end of some 3 to 4 months, you will have a production like a complete full stack project in your hand. So that will be very useful. So you can start with these layers. Once you are very confident with this, you can just move to other layers. So as I explained, the controller layer has the API endpoints and HTTP requests and this annotation for this HTTP methods. So the service layer will have the business logic and the processing for the request and the validation. So the repository layer is to communicate with the database. So whatever we need to do with the database, it will be communicated via the repository layer. So it will perform database operations like web operations, adding, deleting, updating, fetching the data, and all those queries. Queries will be automatically generated. We don't have to sit and write the queries here, and the data persistence will be done. So the model is your actual database system. You in model layer, whatever things you define, those will be your actual database table columns. So these are the some up to this. It is a basic one, like you will use the API to communicate with the backend. So these are the some advanced concepts once you have done with this base one, so you can slowly move into this. But if you are focusing for a placement, particularly now, you can just be thorough with the basics of Spring Boot and the API sort of thing. After which you can focus on the microservices. But if you have already know these concepts thoroughly, it's well and good that you can move with this advanced concept. So the microservice is nothing but a small independent service. Like what happens here is, let's take an pizza ordering system or a e-commerce site. So there are different functionalities in this e-commerce site. What are all the various functionalities here? So signing and login is one functionality. Say its own service. Ordering a customer ordering a product, so ordering is a service. Uh, Product update is one service. And so let's say basically we have these three services. So let's say I have an issue with the product ordering. So if my application is a monolithic one, like without separate services, let's say it is a monolithic all together into a single code. What happens is, if one like the part, like the ordering part gets failed, automatically the entire application shuts down, by which there happens a financial loss, the customers trust will be gone, and there are so many consequences which we will be facing. So to overcome these concerns, here comes the microservice. What you can do is, you can have different services. Like you should develop as I showed, controller, repository, model, service. Like that, you should develop a different services. For ordering, it should be separate. For product catalog, it should be separate. For login service, it should be separate. All these three should be connected via port number, so that if one service gets failed, the other is as usual. Like it improves the deployment flexibility. It also improves the scalability. We can just scale the ordering service without affecting the product catalog and the login service. So this is why the microservice is mainly needed, and the Docker one. This ensures that the application works consistently. So these days, the applications are deployed on cloud platforms heavily. The most common vendors that we know for cloud is AWS, and the Google Cloud. So again, the reason for companies opting for a cloud environment for deploying is, they need a reliable environment. They need a global availability, not just in one country. They need their product to be visible in as many as countries, so that they make their product popular, as well as the financial one. So global availability and global visibility is one of the main reasons why companies are opting for their cloud deployment. So the other thing is the backend security. So for this backend security, again there is some concept in Spring that is called as Spring security. So this backend security is nothing but the authentication, authorization, like the password encryption with some sort of techniques, and the JWT tokens. JWT tokens is, you will have a token for your particular session. If your session has ended, that particular token will be destroyed. So the no other one can use their token to access your session. So this is something about the JWT token. So to ensure the backend security, there is something called as a Spring security in the Spring framework. So which will be useful. So the other things we need to focus is, once you are okay with your development, like the backend development API, so the next thing you need to focus is the performance technique, performance optimization technique, because your APIs must be able to handle thousands of records at through milliseconds or millisecond. If your API gets failed to handle 1,000 records in a millisecond, then it is not a production ready one. We cannot deploy it to the customer's use, because if you take Instagram now, millions of people are using it, but the application doesn't fail. How? So this is where the optimization takes place. So to reduce, for this we have where so many methods. The most common and important techniques are caching and load balancing. So caching is like it will store the frequently accessed data temporarily. So if your session is for 2 hours, in this 2 hours, let's say you are using one particular information most frequently, so it will be stored in a cache. So for that particular 2 hours, the frequent data that we will be using will be stored in a cache, so that you know you every time when you request for that particular data, there is no need to communicate with the database and again returning a response. Instead of that, the data will be fetched from your cache. So it also reduces the database load and also improves the speed. Since the data is available readily in the cache, we don't have to disturb the database, and the time it takes to reach the database is lower when compared to the catching. So catching is faster, so the application speed will also get improved. So the load balancing is instead of dumping 20 requests into a single API, we will just split that request into a different services. So the load will be equally balanced. uh, One server will not get crashed for handling some records. So every server will work for their the number of requests, and the load is distributed evenly. So there is no stress on one particular server. So that's why the load balancing serves as one of the important optimization techniques. So if you're someone who is interested in backend things, and if you are someone who already know some front end concepts like HTML, CSS, JavaScript along with one framework. So even if you know HTML, CSS and JavaScript, companies nowadays need front end developers with one framework like Angular or React. So make sure if you have already know front end concepts, try to learn one framework for your sentence, so which will stand out for you. So if they have 10 resumes and if your resume has one framework, then you are the one that is going to be stand out in the 10 diamonds. So make sure you learn that if you have already know the front end concept. If you are new, start from the basics HTML, CSS and JavaScript, so that will be useful. If you already know front end, then the back end roadmap is here. The thing you have to know is, first you should be thorough with the core Java concept, syntactically and the logic wise and all those. So make sure you know core Java fundamentals thoroughly, so that you won't make any mistakes, and you will be able, and you can solve some, not too much DSA and not even DSA. Make sure you will be able to solve some basic coding problems using core Java. Then focus on OOP concepts plus collections. OOP concept is a fundamental which you will encounter in whatever the technical interview you will do. If you have mentioned Java in your resume, then OOP concept question will be there for sure. So don't take it for granted. Even if you know concept, practice coding based on that OOP concept. So which they won't give you the question explicitly. This person is doing this, so what is this? No, they won't ask you like that. What they'll ask you is explain you concept, then you will explain all those five six something, after which they will ask you like write a code based on the polymorphism or write a code based on the abstraction. So at that point, if you fail to write a code, it is like your own code. So you don't have any terms and conditions there. You don't have any conditions like this variable must be there, this shouldn't be there. No, it's your choice completely. So make sure you know the concept along with some lines of code which can which supports the OOPS concept as well. And the collections is like there are so many collection concepts in Java. So learn them one by one. So don't just dump everything at once into your mind. So if you're learning some concepts, practice one or two coding problems. After which move into another concept, practice them. So this is how your progression will take place. If you learn every concept at once and if you sit to solve a problem, then definitely you will forget your core Java also. If dumping takes place, then you will lose your fundamentals also. So make sure if you are learning collections, try solving problems each one by one, so that you make your concepts clearer, you make your coding knowledge, it improves your coding knowledge, and you know where this method gets called, where this method gets subtraction, where what is happening where. So in our college we have in collection something within two files, like calling something. But if you move there, it will not just be two files, it will be around five to six files. So if you don't know what method is called where for what purpose, then you are done with that. So make sure you learn the basics, you understand the concept, you will be able to implement that concept. So that is one thing that is needed. So automatic, then the SQL comes here. We won't write SQL queries in our Spring Boot. That doesn't mean we don't have to study the SQL concept. In your technical interview, your core subjects will be tested. Like we are PhD, no? Our core subjects will be the questions will be based on our core subjects like database management systems, uh, computer network, architecture subjects, and the remaining subjects like the life cycle, software life cycle, and all this. Whatever you learn from your first year till final year, everything will be tested in your technical interview. Not all subjects, but our technical papers, our core subjects will be tested. That too will be based on the company that you are seeking for. So don't take anything for granted. And there comes a situation where they will give one problem statement and they will ask you to write the SQL statement, SQL query. In most of the interviews, the SQL query they ask will be up to the level of joins and all those things. In some interviews, it will be based on the procedure and all those. So make sure you learn SQL. We have already learned, but before sitting for an interview, make sure you have a revision of that also. So the next is the Spring Boot one, which we have discussed the layered architecture. Next, the REST APIs, so through which the communication happens. And the next is authentication, and the last one is your cloud deployment. So if you are someone who already knows front end and this is the back end roadmap, if you are done with this, then you are already a full stack developer. So many of I have heard many of them saying AI ML is the future, or AI and machine learning is the only trending market and the pocket. No, there is a need for Java developers in many companies. If you take a if you just go and Google search for walk-in drive, no? you can see a list of companies with the requirement for Java developers or full stack developers, back end, front end, and all this. So don't think sorry, full stack development is an outdated one or it won't be helpful in the future. Whatever the old one has, it has some enhancement and it still has feature. In old, like before years, no, full stack development is only a normal one, a full stack project, a full stack application from front end to back end and the testing, everything it includes. So now the same thing follows with the advancement of AI. Now what the name is, no, full stack development with AI. So the only name that is added with the role is AI. So make sure you go with the full stack development along with the AI. So the enhancement gets you a good job. So this is something the backend roadmap is about. So here I have presented some project ideas for your reference. So if you are a beginner, like you have started for 10 days or 15 days, assuming you already know Java, core Java and some of concepts. So for 10 or 15 days, if you are sitting and learning these concepts, so start with some simple projects, student management system or expense tracker. So if it is a 1 month of learning and you try to extend the if you try to extend your existing project or it is fine you come up with a new project. So I don't know how many of you have their resume built now. So for interviews and for your placement, resume is a mandatory one. Even in that resume, the project section speaks a lot about you. So if your resume has no project section, then there is no chance that the company hires you. Make sure you have at least one major project and one minor project in your resume for a considerable one. If it is good, if you have more than two projects is a minimum. So if you don't have any projects, start learning now and start building now. Before your interview or before you sit for your placement, you will have some projects in your hand to speak for that. So start by the beginner project, student management system and expense tracker. Once you learn every concept in a detail, you can extend the same project by adding so many features, or you can choose a different uh, project idea. So this is something you can consider. So which even which I had the hospital management system, even I had that project in my hand, the intermediate one which I mentioned. Even I had that project in my hand when I did the property. That one is like I didn't develop it with a full stack one, adding a front end. I just had the back end part fully along with the security concepts. So I was able to answer them. So this is something you have to focus is the project in your resume. For your standout, you need a project. So that's all about the content for today, the Spring Boot and the backend engineering. And I have a basic, like here I have mentioned, no, student management system. I have built a basic demo for you people. So let's see that. So this icon, the leaf kind of icon is the SPS, Spring Toolkit. Uh, Basically, it is an IDE for developing the Spring project. There are other. Hello. Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
Um, I'm hearing some noises, ma'am. So this is the Spring tool suite where I have developed the Spring project. This is not the only way that you need to create the Spring project. You can you can get into a browser and you can search
One
for
second.
Spring initial.
Varshasri, kindly mute yourself.
Okay. You can just browse in your browser like Spring Initializer, and you can add whatever the dependencies that you want. And if you click download, your project folder will be downloaded. After which you can just import that project folder into your IDE. So in STS, how to create a Spring project is go to File, then click on New. You will see something as Spring Starter. Yeah, Spring Starter project. If you click on this, it will a set of names will be asked here. So you can give whatever the name you want in the place of name, and the type should be Maven project. It is packaging is jar. Version is depending on the language version you have in your local system, and this all this group name, artifact, version, everything is your wish. And the pack, even if you can change the packaging. If you click on next, it will ask you for the dependencies. As I said, a set of basic dependencies will be already there. So if you click on this, see, there are a lot of dependencies here. In AI, Anthropic Cloud, Azure OpenAI, Azure AI Search, Amazon Bedrock Converse, like all those. So you can just these are the dependencies I usually use in my project. Is for database, I usually go with the H2 in-memory database so that I don't want any other external databases. The next thing is the Spring Data JPA, and the next thing is the Spring Web. So if you click on the dependencies that you want, then if you give finish, see your project folder will be created here. So this is how you create your Spring project. So now I have built the project for student API. So I have given my name as student API. So under com.example, you need, as I said, no, it is a layered architecture. So you will need to have 4 files, a basic one. So create packages under com.example.demo, a separate package for controller, separate for model, separate for repository, and a separate one for service. Since it is a demo project, I don't have a huge number of methods. So I just have one service. So if you're having n number of methods, it's better to have a service abstract interface and a implementation so that you can easily know what are all the methods that are present in your project. So this is my controller file. So I have annotated it with at rest controller, at request mapping, at the rate of auto wired, post mapping, get mapping, and delete mapping. You can see in this get mapping, I didn't provide anything within the braces, and in this get mapping, I have provided something within it. So what's the difference between here is, so this the thing within the braces means, so in my path via Postman, if I want the record of one particular student, let's say I have some 3 to 4 records, say Rahul, Janani, or some 3 to 4 records. So 1, 2, 3, 4. If I want a record of my Janani, it is a two, no? If I mention that ID in that path via Postman, then only my record gets it. But here, if you see, I don't have any condition within my braces. So whenever I send a get request via Postman, what I get is a list of students present in my database. So if there are 5 students in my database, all those 5 records will be explicitly shown there. So the difference is that one. Then this auto wired is for injecting the dependencies. Like instead of each and every time calling this method, So I have just injected the student service into my controller so that the flow becomes easier. So if you see this text mapping within the braces, I have given a slash student. So now in my postman, if you see, so this is the path that I use for post, get, update, and delete. So see, this is the port that my application is running on, port number 8080. Let me show you. Right click, run as a, so you can see here, Tomcat started on the port 8080 HTTP with context path of slash. What the slash means is my port is 8080, that is within my local machine, so local host 8080. The context path of slash is nothing but the student. So along with the port number, I should give this student. After which only whatever the data I give here will be stored in my database. So one thing here is you can see H2 console available at H2 console, database available at JDBC H2 mem test team. So here if you take a look, so yeah, this is the uh, URL. So localhost 8080 slash H2 console. So this consoles is like there is no necessary that it should be consoles or whatever. So it must be the name what you have provided in your application.property file. I will show you that. And the JDBC URL is you can see here. This is the JDBC URL. So I need to copy and paste this particular thing in place of here. And if I click connect, you can see here I have my student table. So if I run this, you can see I don't have any rows and any columns because I haven't posted anything via Postman. So now let us post something via Postman. My method is post and the URL is this and my JSON is this. Name for Rahul, department CSC and some email ID. So if I click send, I'll get a response like this. Usually we don't get a response like this, but since it is a basic project and I am returning what I am posting in the database. So instead of this, you can tailor your project. For if you post something, you can say something like student created successfully. Instead of this whole data, a single string message can be displayed. You can create your project like this. So now I have got a response like this. Let us check our database. So I have run it again. So you can see department CSC, email is rahul@gmail.com, name is Rahul. So I'm creating another my journal. Okay. And again, you can see whatever the data I gave in my data, I have got it in data. So similarly, you can check here again if you run, you can see my database shows whatever I posted via the GFS. Here the postman acts as an UI for my backend. So, what basically is, I didn't build any front end for this project. It is a purely backend thing. I'm using Postman to test my API, and in this place, Postman is acting as my front end or let's say a client. So, what here happens is Spring Boot processes the request, Hibernate generates the SQL query, H2 stores the data, then the backend returns the JSON response. Okay. Let me show you the application.properties file. So this is my application.properties file. What I have mentioned here is the data source URL is jdbc h2mem is to std. This is what I got here, the URL one. And I have set the username equal to SA and the password is I haven't set anything. For in memory, you won't have a password. And then I haven't set here. And then the driver class name is org.h2.driver. So for using the H2 in memory database, you need to add a dependency called as H2 database. So you can view the dependencies here in form.xml file. If you open them, yeah, see here. These are all the dependencies that I have added. You will already have a set of dependency while you're creating products. Along with that, if you add some dependencies, you can leave it there. See, I have added the dependencies for H2 database, and this is for Spring Boot starter data JPA, and this is for WebMVC. So you will already have some, and along with that, for this is for H2 control and all those. So you will have some, and if you need something, you can just visit the official MVN repository. You can just type the name of the dependency you want, just copy and paste it here. So once you do it, no, you can see the jar files that automatically downloaded. I haven't downloaded any jar files externally. I have just added the dependencies, and you can see it. Spring Boot started Tomcat, WebMVC, auto configure, and all this. So this is something that happens when you add dependency. So you will have annotations for each layer. For controller, you will have at the rate of health controller, and for model class, you will have an entity ID at the rate of generator value, and you will also have something called as column and all this. So here ID nothing is nothing but it indicates that this is your primary key. So we will write no in actual query roll number primary key. So it is similarly like that, and the other generated values it is automatic. It will be automatically generated. So for the first JSON that I send, the value is 1, and for the second one, the value is 2. So it is automatically generated. So that is about the model class. And for repository, again, um, you will have connotation like the rate of so, so this is just what the for this type dot these whenever you use those methods, if you put them, that particular method gets executed. So you don't have to actually write logic, right? Only for the code. Then all will be taken care by what has done in my service where I have said all my business process to be there. In my controller, I just add and all those are there. Adding a student is nothing but the post method. Once the post mapping is called, this particular method will called. So then what happens? I'm calling here student repository and I'm saving the student data. So what happens is with the help of my repository, the data gets stored in the database. And for get mapping without any braces condition, it returns a list of all the students. And for condition for get mapping ID, the student with that particular ID will be returned. And for deleting particular student, I'm doing here only with the basis on the ID. I'm not deleting every day. So this is a basic, let's say a basic Spring Boot project. You can even develop this one into a fully production ready corporate level of project. So if you are interested in Java, then start your preparation, start learning these concepts, build projects by this. Based on this, then you will outstand in your interview. That's it. That's it. Ma'am,
Yeah.
completed, ma'am.
Mm.
Okay, thank you, Janani.
Yes, ma'am.
Students, do
Thank
you have any doubts? Do you have any doubts? Please ask.
Anyone wants to interact, you can just ask questions to her.
Questions?
Students, any queries related to projects? Maybe you may be doing some projects. You can just
Yes,
put some questions to her, ma.
ma'am,
Just
I have
introduce
a doubt, ma'am.
yourself. Introduce yourself, Nilesh, and you can just ask her some questions.
Good evening, ma'am. Myself Nilesh from CSE department. I have a doubt, and would you suggest any YouTube channel to completely learn Spring Boot and Microsoft?
Yeah, like there is one YouTube channel which even I have referred for learning the concept. Names like error mix clever, which I don't know whether it has content related to Spring Boot and microservice, but error mix clever. That particular YouTube channel has a very strong videos for learning your programming languages like Python, and even for HTML, CSS, JavaScript, they have the tutorial videos. So you can refer them for programming language. And there is one channel for the code logic. It has an 1 hour 10 minutes video related to the Spring Java microservices using the Spring Boot. So you will explain each and everything in a puck-up point. Like you won't just go through just the concept. You will explain them with the actual project. Like even the example today I use here is something that I learned from that video. So he will explain this microservices and all those in a beautiful way. So you can refer that one, and you can just generally type Spring Boot microservice, and you will get a lot of tutorials. So this is it will be in Tamil too. So you can easily understand the concept. And another one is like another channel is Telugu. I guess it is in Telugu. So if you are Telugu, you can even watch that YouTube channel videos. Even in that YouTube channel videos, the programming language fundamentals will be very clear. Like I guess Python, so many of them learned Java and Python from that YouTube channel. So you can have a look on it. And there is another website actually that is called as Beldung, I guess. 1 minute.
Janani, you can just type those channel names in the chat box, ma.
Okay, ma'am.
You can also, you're welcome to share your interview experiences also.
Yes, ma'am. So the channel names I have sent this YouTube channel, and there is another website actually. Sorry.
Any other students? Any other queries, ma?
Uh, Ma'am, hi ma'am. I am Varsha from CSC department.
Hi. Hi.
Ma'am, the ma'ams have told that you are from Emphasis, ma'am. So we will be getting this company by this end of the semester. So may I know the important topics or concepts they will be asking in Emphasis company for interview, ma'am, specifically?
Hi, Vasha. Like you can call me Janani. I'm not like a super senior of yours. I'm just the immediate passed out, so you can just call me Janani. I'm comfortable with that. So
Oh,
there is nothing like important one. So emphasis is, let me share my interview experience. After which you will itself understand what are all the things will happen there. So the first round is like the aptitude, along with the verbal and reasoning questions. So for which, if you sit in the smart training research, no, that is more than enough. So you don't really have to spend hours in aptitude training. If you utilize them in a correct way, no, you can actually crack that aptitude on. So it is not like other companies, because some companies first on will be in online mode. You can attend them from your home itself. But for emphasis, the first round will be conducted in our college premises in third floor lab. For us, it has happened like that. The first round is held on, I don't know the exact date. It is the places like venue is third floor lab, and it will contain aptitude, verbal reasoning, and all those questions, and some questions from computer science also. Like computer science core subjects questions will be also there, but no coding. No coding, no SQL questions. I guess SQL will be present in computer science core subject, but not like the query writing or coding question kind of thing. They will give some one code, and they will ask you for something within that code, like a code review sort of thing will be present. So this is about your first round. So once you have cleared this round, after that the second round you will encounter with specifically emphasis is the technical HR. Uh, Technical and the resource HR has happened on the same day. It is on October 14th exactly. We had a pre-placement talk after our first round. So the pre-placement talk was held for only those candidates who cleared the first round. So after the pre-placement talks, there were around 21 or 23 panels. So I was like, this is not the first company I have attended. I have attended some companies. I have failed in lot more. Like not like if you in huge numbers, but I have expected one particular company because I have really worked for that particular company. So I have failed in that. After which I thought of like, let's not concentrate on one single thing. Okay. After which I started focusing on every area, daily learning of core subjects. So during the technical HR, the panels were segregated and it was different actually from other companies. So some of my friends who was seated in other panels had their interview only for 10 minutes, and some of my friends who had seated for in some other panels, they didn't even had technical questions. It was a fully behavioral question. If you are lucky enough, you will get a panel with technical question number. So you have to really pray for that you should get a panel member who will ask you technical questions. Okay. Then actually for me the interview went around 45 minutes, and I was like, I had no idea. I was the second one in my panel. Before me, one guy from RMK, I guess, he went in, and my friends surrounded me. No, they all had completed their interviews. But since my interviewer is taking interviews for 45 minutes, I got a late call from interviewer from the panel member. So emphasis is all about the interview process will be about your resume. From top till bottom, the questions will be purely based on your resume. So there are companies who doesn't care about your resumes. They will ask technical questions, they will ask coding questions on their own. But it's not emphasis is not like that. They will ask questions only based on your resume. So whatever the content you have typed in your resume, you should be thorough with that. Even if it is an extracurricular activity like participating in a college symposium, he will ask you that what is the participation and what is the topic of the paper that you presented in that college symposium, like that. And one thing that is common in every company technical interview is about your project. Minimum you should have two projects. That is advisable actually. If you don't have one, start preparing one. Start watching YouTube tutorials. Even you at the end of each tutorial, each YouTube channel will build a project. So even you can take that and build on your own. Don't just cut copy the code and paste it here. Change some features. If they are having some animation or the color grading with some effect or some color, you change the color. You change the effect of the animation or color grading so that you will get a practical exposure. Also, you will have something to tell to the interviewer that I have done this and this and this in during my college year. So the thing is, your resume speaks a lot in the emphasis interview. So if you're done with your, like if you have done your emphasis interview, technical interview better, then there is no doubt you will actually get call for your resource HR. So a resource HR in every company, no, there'll be no rejection from the last one, resource HR. There'll be rejections only if their required count uh, is 10 and if the number of candidates selected is 12. In that case, only the rejections will be happening in the HR round. If there is no count, they don't have any count margin, then automatically HR round is like a basic question. Are you flexible to relocate? Are you okay with night shifts? These are all the questions that you will have. So technical HR is the technical round is your core subject, computer science degree. No, you will have some core subjects: database management system, computer architecture, computer network, and software life cycle, programming language, data structure. These will be your core subjects in your computer science. So the questions will be from this, and you don't really need to have a complex PSA knowledge for attending your interview. If you are thorough in what you know, and if you are able to explain them with the clarity, then there is a no doubt that you will be selected. There is actually a far better way that you can select. So, technical knowledge or technical skills is not the only skill that you need to get in place. More than that, you need a communication skill, you need a behavior skill, you need a skill where, what is a personality skill, like before entering a panel room, knocking it and asking experience. It is a basic manners actually. Some tech, some panel members even will note that point. So how is your behavior? So how is your communication skill? Even if you're technically an average and you are excellent in communication, you will get it. So that's the main matter. So if you ask me for communication skill, no, even in our college, no, for that our staff will be asking for taking seminars. Go volunteer. There is no one. They are your classmates. If you fail in front of your classmates, no, then definitely you will get placed. Your communication skill will improve. You are thinking that no, these guys will teach you. No, not like that. For a seminars in classrooms, no, then in future you can confidently give your board meeting. Volunteering to speak today, no, you will definitely will have a bright future. But those who are not in meetings with your managers and superiors, so you must be ready to communicate whatever the situation is. At least there will be 3 to 4 meetings per day. So that is one of the most important. And the resume is important. Don't just go random and select a Canva design. Build a resume that is ATS friendly and neat looking resume. It should be like, if you see that resume, no, it should be like, yeah, this resume is looking neat and good. They should get an point like that. If they shouldn't look, what is it full of colors and all this things. No, they shouldn't think like that. Prepare a resume that is ATS friendly, neat looking, and the font sizes, font boldness, everything. Prepare your resume with utmost care and don't just take one resume for all interviews because one company expectation is different whereas the other company's expectation is different. So if you put anything that you don't know in your resume, then that's it. You are finished in that way. So put whatever you know in your resume. That's it. That's the only thing you need to do.
Oh, thank you, Janani. Students, Janani is your immediate senior. So she has shared her experiences, both interview experiences and how well you have to behave and how a resume should be. So I think definitely, Janani, your juniors would have got some confidence. Maybe next year, some of your juniors will be in this scenario where they will be addressing and giving presentation for their juniors. So thank you very much, Janani. Anyone else Who is willing to ask questions, you can ask, ma. Anyone else is there? Or shall we wind up, ma'am? Pranamita, ma'am?
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, Janani, for your valuable time, for sharing all this information. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for giving this
Okay.
opportunity to address my juniors.
Okay,
Thank you,
thank
ma'am.
you. Thank you.
Thank you, Janani. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.